Okay, this is volunteer Rosy and her horse. Sorry, what was his name again? Herbie. I think I'd remember that, wouldn't you? And so anyway, he's 10 years old. He's part Welsh cob, part gypsy cob. And she said he can be quite heavy on the shoulders, on the forehand. He can tend to tank off with her at times when he feels like it. But from what I've seen of him at the moment, he's a really nice little stamp of cob. Have you shown him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I should imagine he did quite well in show cob classes.
6 out of 15. Not bad.
Not bad. Oh, I'm surprised actually, because he's quite like a small version of my Kerry, the show cob that I had. That she was Persia on Cross Connemara actually, but no, there's a lot to like about him. So let's see you in Rising Trot. Let's pop you up to Rising Trot now. So Rosie's just here to be assessed and give her some advice on what to do. Bouncy boy. You can see the Welsh cob there anyway, that's for sure. So have you competed in any dressage or anything with him?
Not yet, no.
No? Okay. So have you had lessons in the past, or?
Yeah, so I have a lesson every 2 weeks. But it's with a pony club instructor.
Yeah.
Just teaching him manners, basically.
Yeah. Does she work on you as a rider at all?
No.
Right. Is that part of her job that you're expecting, or is that something that you're not bothered about with her teaching you? Is it more about the horse?
I think as long as he's...
Sorry?
I think as long as he's happy, I'm happy.
Yeah. But the thing is, the better the rider rides, the better the horse will go, and the more happy he will be. I mean, you're only very light, and I've seen a lot worse Rising Trot than that, because although your body protector makes you look a bit round-shouldered, and do you always ride him in a body protector?
Yes.
Yeah. So the only thing I find with the body protector is the fact that so often that one's not as bad as some. When they come down a really long way, it's inhibiting your back from actually being able to absorb the movement properly. And so when that happens, of course, you're actually more vulnerable because you're not going to be as deep in the saddle. So I can see the point of it for jumping, but for flat work, unless the horse is a dangerous one, it won't help your position really. But anyway, we'll have an overall look at you. And let's have a look at you in the dreaded sitting trot. Normally as soon as I say that, people say, oh no, not sitting trot. Okay, so when you're ready. Oh, there's a little bit of caterpillar there, Tallulah. We always used to say that when Tallulah first came here that her back was like a caterpillar in sitting trot. You've got plenty of flexibility there anyway. Just look up a little bit. Right, okay. I'll ride forward to walk. Now, if you just turn in so that we can still see you on the camera, I want to just have a look at your position overall. What happens is you really, I'm just going to take this jacket off because it's far too, oh, hang on. I've got that in the pocket, so perhaps better not. I'll just take the jacket off so you can actually see what my back is doing. So I'm going to stick it in that pocket instead, hopefully. So you look very hunched up on the horse, and so what I'd like to do is take your feet out of the stirrups. You ride very short too, considering you've got lovely long legs. Right, now I want you to just hold your reins as you normally would, turn to the front. Now sit up a little taller, look ahead, and right, that looks very different already. And what I might do is actually where's my phone? I'm going to take a photo of her. I didn't actually switch it off, only turn the volume down so I don't get annoyed. But I just want you to have a look. Just take your stirrups back up again and sit as you were. It's always just so handy just to be able to show somebody a photograph of themselves. Right. Drop your rib cage again like you were. That's more like it. Right, okay. Now I'm going to show you a photograph of you sitting like that. Okay. Right. See that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Now take your feet out of the stirrups and let your legs stretch down. Now stretch up taller, look ahead. Right.
Oh yeah. It's like a lie.
Slight difference, isn't there?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I mean, that's, now when you're sitting like that, you're a rider, you're not just a passenger, and that's the problem. Now, I'm just going to have a look at this saddle. Oh, what a shame. It's actually got, I was hoping it might have Velcroed knee rolls, because we could have whacked a big pair of knee rolls on to actually help her to sit in a deeper position at this point in time, because your stirrups probably need to go down. I think the last lady I had here, was it 5 holes we put her stirrups down in the end? Yeah. So I think, I think 3. I think let's try 3 and just see, because he's moving, he's obviously quite bouncy. He's got the Welsh cob bounce in his trot.
Oh yes.
But I mean, you've got lots of flexibility to sit to it. So let's just try that. Oh. 5 holes. I think we need to do another 2. You might feel, sort of, now, ideally I would put one of my saddles on for you, because it'll enable you to sit in the position straight away, but you have to deal with this. So it's not worth me changing the saddle over, to my mind, when you've got to actually be the one to deal with this. So it's just 5 holes. Whoops. Is that 5? It is, isn't it? Yeah. No. Yeah, if it's down 5, it's this one. Okie dokie. We have ways of stretching you. Right, now, was that right one longer than the left?
Yes.
It is, isn't it? Decidedly.
Whole up.
Yeah, whole up. They've obviously stretched unevenly, as so often happens. There we go. Try that. How's that feel?
Much better.
Yeah, okay. Now, you may, I'm not so sure. That side you still look like you're reaching for it a bit. This side you don't. That's really weird. Are they equal? No, that's definitely another hole longer than that. So you're 2 holes difference on one side. So pop that one up another hole. Hello, Herbie. Right, okay, now what I want you to do is to try to release your knee there a little bit and roll the little toe a little lower like that. You've got quite good supple ankles, so you can actually get your feet more facing forward, so they're not pointing out like that. I've been doing that with Meg, my volunteer student, she's here for several months, and it's made a huge difference to how she uses her leg, because she was using her leg more like that. And what we want you to do is to use your leg inwards and forwards with that inwards and forwards brush of the coat like that, so you're not gripping up and back all the time. So okay, now let's take him back out there and see how you get on. I'll put my jacket back on. It's really cold today. So try to keep your toes to the front. I'll just keep nagging you. So toes to the front, sitting up tall, stretch up through your rib cage. Imagine you've got a bungee rope on the top of your hat, so somebody's stretching you up tall. Yeah, that already looks better. Now in your rising trot, I was pleased to see that you were inclining slightly forward as you rise and sit, because when people rise bolt upright, they're coming down on the back of the saddle and then making the horse hollow his back and lift his head. So you're probably going to still be reaching for those stirrups a little bit until we get you stretched down a bit more. So keep your elbows bent, look up, try not to tip forward, keep the shoulders back a little bit so you're really stretching up tall. Now we're going to pop up to rising trot and see how you cope with those long stirrups. Right, hang on a minute. Right, wait, come back again. What did you do to ask him to go? Yeah, that's just the problem. Right, now, what I want you to do is Use your legs, not your seat, because when you push with your seat like that, you're actually stopping him going forward. What I want you to do initially, hold on a minute, just sit up tall again, sit up tall. I want you to squeeze your bum muscles together and stop. Right. Now, you see how he reacted? He halted as soon as you squeezed your butt muscles, yeah? Now, what do you do when you push with your seat? Squeeze your butt muscles as you're doing it. So you're actually, it's like driving a car with your foot on the accelerator and on the handbrake at the same time. And, well, not the foot on the handbrake, but anyway, the handbrake on. So what we want you to do is to use your legs to ask him to go forward. So close both calves on his side. Never ever push with the seat because you'll always block his back. And so that will also stop him from coming up through his shoulders as well. So just close your legs and send him forward. And then when you want to increase the walk at all, just think of squeezing your left leg, then your right leg, then left, then right, then left, then right. Because as his belly is swinging away, stretch up tall again, keep your elbows bent. Look up a little bit. Good. Try not to draw your heel up and think of keeping your toe to the front so you're not trying to turn your foot out to use your heel and the back of your calf. Keep your toe a little bit more forward. Good. Now I want you to keep those elbows bent a bit more, but don't lean forward. Stretch up tall through your rib cage. Elbows bent again. That's it. Carry your hands a little bit more in front of you, not quite so low. Now that's better. That won't then you won't then be pulled forward. Right, now we're going to go up to rising trot, but this time what I want you to do, don't let the walk get faster. I want you to take a little bit more contact, so you ask him to slow down a little bit in the walk, in actual fact. Slow down a little bit, and then close your legs and ask him to go up to trot. Now, so it's an immediate, yeah, staying slightly forward. Good girl, that looks good, much better already. And trying to keep your leg lightly wrapped around his sides. Well done, you're coping very well with those stirrups. Now if he gets too fast, what I want you to do is slow your rise and sit a little bit. So you just slow your bum coming back to the saddle. So you get a nice balanced trot. He's actually a really nice little cob. Keep the thumbs up on top so you're not playing a piano or pushing a pram. Good boy. Now in a downward transition from trot to walk, we always slow our bum coming back to the saddle, so the horse has to sort of catch you down, if you like, and it means you get a much smoother transition. Slow, and pick up the swing of his belly with the walk. Very good, Rosie. And up to trot again. Just close your legs, but no pushing with the seat. Stretch up tall, don't collapse your rib cage. Good girl. Just change your diagonal. Very good. Toes to the front. Little play with your fingers on the reins, couple little squeezes on your left rein, a couple little squeezes on the right rein, and that will slow him down a little bit more again, because we want to get a little bit more, yeah, good boy. Not quite so fast a trot. What we want to do is to get him more up through his shoulders. We need to slow the trot down, but still have energy. It's funny, because he's in the same bit that Rusty was in as well. Good girl. Let's change the rein from F to H across the school. Good. Keeping those elbows bent though, because otherwise you can't have an elastic contact with his mouth. Okay, push him into the corner with your inside leg so that he's not turning like a boat at anchor. Keeping the elbows bent more. Thumbs up on top. Just have the hands and reins just a little bit higher above the neck, not quite so low. Because that's in the position where your hands would be if you want him to go long and low, rather than to carry himself. So as he's going a little bit pokey-nosed there, I would bring him back to walk again. So slowing your bum, coming back to the saddle. Good girl, well done. And then, does he feel now as if he's a little bit less responsive to your hand? Oh, that's better in the walk. But again, keeping those elbows bent, so that you're not then being pulled forward. So your upper body is being pulled forward at times by the reins because your hands are so low. And that puts you in a very vulnerable position. If you just come down here again and turn in, because I just want to show you what I mean. If you sit up tall, rather than slightly sort of round-shouldered and looking a bit apologetic for being on a horse, if you come down here and stand sideways onto the camera so I can show you what I mean. It's okay, turn him sideways on. Makes me think a little bit of Chip in some respects, Kim's Chip. Right, now, hold the reins quite firmly. Okay, now, you see, if he pulls forward, you can very easily be pulled forward if he's going to bog off with you, for instance. Right, now stretch up tall, keep your elbows bent. Okay, hold that rein firmly again. See how much more solid you are in the saddle. As soon as, this is a safety issue as well, because the fact that he is a little bit on the he will tank off with you. The more you sort of just sit there in a slightly sort of, it's not even a defensive position really, but it's a sort of position like you're thinking that he's likely to go off at some point, So the most important thing is to be really tall and strong in the saddle, and then he will find it really difficult to disappear with you. Now, the only thing I would say, I know you've got him in a Dutch gag at the moment, and I mean, we get castigated for using the pelham quite a lot. But the one thing of the pelham, I mean, Rusty we've put him in it, and he's a completely different horse instantly, and we see this all the time. Now, a lot of people say, oh, they'll only overbend in the pelham. They'll only overbend in the pelham if you let them, or pull on them so that it encourages them to. But if you've got a horse that bolts with you, I mean, he's got a hell of a neck on him there. It's really strong. And the pelham, all you've got to do, because we only use an elastic curb strap in general, so it's very, very mild and just a mullen mouthpiece. But if they go to tank off with you, you lift your hands up and forwards sharply, and it literally stops them in their tracks so much more than if you try to pull back on the rein, because that just sets up a tug of war, and obviously he's a bit stronger than you are, because you're only a little slight thing, and so he's quite a tank of a cob, isn't he? But at the same time, there's so much there to like about both of you. You could really work very nicely, both of you. And so don't let anybody ever tell you that you couldn't, because you can. But the thing is, he's got to stop. How often is he likely to do that with you?
He does it when it gets a bit much. So not very often ridden, but more so in hands.
Yeah. He just knows his own strength, doesn't he? Yeah, I mean, actually, we've had to be careful with Moley with that too. But I had a Highland pony as well that, that's all we need. Somebody with a ruddy great saw or something in the background here. But, I mean, she would just literally take off with you, and she went through a 3-rail post and rail fence once, just literally because she didn't bother to stop. So sometimes they can be very, very strong, so... Well, let's hope that's not going to go on too long. But anyway, for me, that would be probably the best way. If he doesn't do it very often under saddle, it's not so bad. But when's he likely to do it under saddle, do you think?
Working away from the track.
Ah, really? What, in a school?
Yeah. So if working against the wall, he's generally fine.
Yeah.
If he were to work in a circle in the middle, if it gets a bit much, he just goes nope. And runs out. So he broke his first owner's ribs like that.
Interesting. Well, the pelham would enable you to stop that, to be honest. I mean, one thing about it is you can't compete in it, but then you can't compete in that either if you wanted to do dressage. And, to me, he's probably got away with it with the previous owner. And at the moment, if you're sitting there slightly hunched up, he knows that he can do it if he wants to. So just, literally, he'll do it in school, not even out. Does he do it out hacking at all?
No.
He doesn't do it out hacking, just in the school.
He's done a lot of hacking and not much in the school, apart from basic breaking.
Right, okay, so that's, but it's unusual for them to want to do that. And so what does he just tank off sort of...
He'll just tank off, and he'll go and stop in a corner.
Oh, so he will stop?
Once he gets to a corner, yeah.
Well, I suppose that's an advantage, at least, if he does actually stop. So, because, but I do think that probably the pelham would be the answer to stopping him, A friend of mine who I'm teaching, well, a horse is off work with a suspensory ligament injury at the moment. He's Grand Prix horse, and she's trained him since he was 3, and he's now 15. But her outdoor school's alongside a lane, so you get a lot, there's not a lot of traffic on it, but the thing is, that's part of the problem. When one does come, if it's a fairly noisy vehicle, it will set him off, and he just tanks. And he's like 16.2, 16.3 Dutch warm blood, and she's only very slight. She's probably similar size to Rosie, and she was leaning back so far on him that her head was nearly touching his backside, trying to stop. And of course, he just went on. And so I taught her to lift the hands up and slightly forward. He's in double bridle, obviously, because he's Grand Prix, and he just went and stopped. He just couldn't believe it that she could stop him in such, because once they get the head up like that, it's very difficult for them to run off. It's only when they can get the head down that they can run off. And so that's what I would possibly advise you to. I mean, if we'd got more time, I'd say we'd put him in the Pelham. But if you can bring him back again sometime, Sarah, I'd be more than happy to try it with her, because there's so much to like with both of them that it seems a shame that to sort of not give her the chance to actually improve things. So just take him back on the track again. And if you were to ask him to do some circles, do you think he'd bog off in here with it only being quite a small indoor school?
Not from the trot.
Not from the trot. Oh, from canter. Is it only canter?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Would you feel comfortable to canter him in here just along the track or not? I mean, yeah, if you're happy to do that, we'll have a look at him. We'll warm him up a bit again first, obviously. But I just want to see what his canter's like, because...
I can't promise I'll do anything.
Right, okay. Well, don't worry about it, because the problem is that people think they've got to canter long before the horse is actually ready to canter in a school. And a friend of mine in Germany, Sonja Weber, who's a fabulous classical dressage trainer, she's got a lovely 6-year-old Lusitano stallion who's actually offering Piaffe and everything now, but she's only cantered him 3 weeks ago. And so, the canter can be something that, so many people get into difficulty with. I'm not letting Meg canter Rusty at the moment in here. Canter him out hacking, yeah, fine, up a hill or something, but don't canter him in here because he's too on the forehand. And he's coming up fantastically in walk and trot, but he needs to perfect that before he can go into canter. So anyway, so stretching up tall again, you're collapsing that rib cage. Aha. If she hadn't got that thing on, I'd put my little... what I actually, Tallulah's chuckling there, I use a back support belt, and I put it on their front, because it means they can't collapse the rib cage. But with that body protector on, it's just really not possible. So, are you sure you're happy to? Yeah, okay. So I could see your back working a lot better if you don't mind. It's because what, sorry?
He sent me to hospital last year.
He sent you to hospital?
Yeah,
but look, if you're happier with it on, then we can deal with it, put it that way, and I'll just keep nagging you about getting your rib cage up, because I'd rather... Are you sure? Because, yeah, but, as I said, I don't want you... So what did he do to put you in hospital?
I fell off at the walk bareback.
You fell off at the walk bareback? Oh, right, okay. Oh, no, that's not nice. Oh, well, so that's not so bad then. He didn't do anything drastic to you. So, honestly, these things, I mean, just looking at this one here, there's no give in it hardly at all. In the middle of the back here, where you need to be able to flex the back in order to absorb the movement, that's doing absolutely nothing. I mean, it's just stopping it sticking in your bum. That's about all. So, right, okay, now let's have a look at that back. So toes to the front. And what I want you to do, before we do anything else, is down the next long side, we're going to do a few halts, just by squeezing your buttock muscles and stretching up tall through your rib cage. It'll tend to make you do that anyway when you close your seat. So down here, wherever you feel right, lower leg lightly on, and just squeeze your bum muscles together and halt. See? And that's how we halt. So stretch up through your rib cage a little bit more. This looks so much better already. And walk on again. Okay. And just a few strides and halt. He's nicely sensitive to the seat too. He could be super. You both could. I mean, you're perfectly built to ride, so that's a big advantage in itself. Okay, walk on again. Now, how have you been taught to turn? Anything in particular? When you turn?
Obviously, hold controlling falling out with my outside leg, controlling falling in with my inside leg. And instead of pulling over manually, to sort of give on that side a bit more.
Give on the left side?
Give on the side that you're turning away from.
Right, okay. Now, what would you do with your shoulders?
Turn them in the direction that I want to go.
Right, okay, that's what I expected you to say. So turn in again a minute, and I just want to walk you through this. So just turn in towards me here, and I'll walk you through it, okay, and I'll tell you about it. So, because you often hear instructors saying, oh, your horse is going through its outside shoulder when you're turning, and they'll have told you to turn your shoulders to the inside so that you're parallel with the horse's shoulders and the horse's hips, yeah? Well, have you ever seen a horse just going like that round a corner? He doesn't. When he walks around a corner, he does this. The only way we could be parallel with the horse's shoulders and hips is to be doing this on the horse, which would look pretty hideous and be very tiring for both you and the horse. Because when you turn your body to the inside, for instance, if I go to turn off the track here, on our horses, all we have to do is to just point our hip in the direction in which you are going. That brings your outside hip back, so you can actually use your outside leg behind the girth, all the way down from the hip, not by drawing it up from the knee, yeah? Inside leg at the girth, but just by pointing the hip in that direction, the outside shoulder comes slightly back. And it's the same as if I was on foot and I want to turn off the track, I wouldn't think, oh, I've got to turn my shoulders to come off this track. The first thing that would go forward would be my foot, followed by my leg and my hip. So if I want to turn right, the first thing that will come off the track is my foot and my hip, yeah? And so we're told we should do pretty much on a horse what we do on the ground, and that's really what we're doing. Now, in shoulder in, I don't know if you know what shoulder in is, yeah? Well, the horse, we're asking the horse to go along the track with his shoulders off the track, but his hindquarters on the track, yeah? And so that's the one time we turn our shoulders to the inside, because we want him to turn his shoulders to the inside. Everything we're trying to do is mirroring, he's going to mirror us on his back. So I want my outside hip pointing up the track with his outside shoulder, because that is the shoulder that's leading. His shoulder is leading, yeah? And so, but if I then want to turn off the track, and I'm in shoulder in, shoulder in, shoulder in, all I've got to do from that hip there is to do that there, and the horse will turn off the track. And I can guarantee he would too if he was trained to do it. Because you're working with the simple biomechanics of the horse's own body and your own body. And the more you can do that, the better it is. So basically, when you turn off the track, if you just advance your inside hip, so in other words, point your hip in the direction which you're going, you'll never have a horse that's going through its outside shoulder, because quite often, I think he's going to have a pee. Another rusty by the look of it. He really is, isn't he? So don't worry about it. Keep the camera on. I'm sure he won't be bashful about it. So, but when you've actually got a horse, say on the circle, this may be part of the problem too, because if he's going through his outside shoulder, if he's trying to run out of the circle, is he doing that? Yeah, that can often be caused by the rider's weight being on the outside of the circle. I've seen this happen a number of times. And so that's something that if we can actually just take him, just in walk to start off with, on a circle, just down here, this is only 15 meters in here. And so just make a circle on the right rein or whichever, a 15-meter circle, just touch the track once at each stride, sit up taller, elbows, and circle away. Inside hip slightly forward. Yeah, not too much or he'll turn in. You see how he's, yeah, now push him out with your right leg a little bit more. So you make the circle bigger. Good, yeah, he's pretty responsive to both the leg and the seat. Now go straight. Now I want you to turn off the track somewhere along here to the other side of the school. So right hip slightly forward, point it, left leg behind the girth. Good, that's it. And you'll find that you've virtually got to do nothing with your hands at all. Okay, and then left hip forward if you're going to turn left. Look in the direction in which you want to go. Now down the next long side, I want you instead to give your right hand forward and bring your right shoulder forward and turn. Keep your contact. Now he's coming into me. But the thing is, you see, what happens when you give your outside hand forward is that he will bend just at the base of the neck and not from behind his wither. And what we want is a horse that bends equally from poll to tail. So from the top of his neck, between his ears, right the way through to his tail. So turn again, your normal way, which he's become used to doing this, but I can guarantee that if you went to teach him shoulder in, he'd be very, you see, now he's starting to drift through his outside shoulder. You can see that quite clearly. Now what I want you to do is come back on the track again, and I want you to turn again, but this time just raise your inside hand slightly, but keep your right hand back and down a little bit. Left hand up a little bit, look left, right shoulder back, sit up tall, right leg behind the girth, but keep those elbows bent, but lift your left hand up a little bit. You've got a terrible habit of doing this, so you've not then got the contact that you need. So keep those elbows bent. Just hold a minute. Right, now, if you think about it, I would say, as I said, that I was taught that you should pretty much mirror on a horse what you do on the ground. So what looks natural on the ground should look natural on a horse and vice versa. So if I walked up the high street like this, nobody'd give me a second glance. But if I walked up the high street like this, they'd probably think I looked a bit weird, wouldn't they? And so that's the thing. If if you can just keep your elbows bent and keep your hands here, that's it. Just in front of it, just above the wither slightly, that's better. I mean, you haven't got short arms. This is always a problem with people who've got short arms, because they're not really comfortable unless their hands are fairly high up, to keep that bend in the elbow. But that's much better. So think of keeping your hands there, thumbs up on top of the reins. That's it. And hold the rein firmly with your thumb and first finger. Then you're free, and I'm just going to show you how we operate the reins. So just keep your reins there. Excuse me, Herbie, don't eat me. So just let a little bit more slack out in the rein. Thank you, that's fine. Now I want you to just feel what I would be doing with my fingers to ask him to relax his jaws. So there's never any pull back, but also if I want to give the rein, just keep your elbow bent and keep it alongside your body. Now I can ask him with my fingers like that, Herbie, no, come on, get up, that's it, with my fingers. But then when I want to give, try not to let your hand drop. Just keep it there. No, don't let it ping. You feel the difference between tension and just relaxing my finger muscles, nothing more than that. So instead of having to give the rein forward and back like that to give the rein, all you've got to do to give the rein is just nothing more than just release your finger tension a bit. You see, but don't open them, because when you do, look at the yank on the rein. So it's just, I tell people to imagine that they're just squeezing their index finger, or not squeezing it. So you're not doing that, because that's a real yank on the rein when you do that. Okay, so let's get you back on the track again. You're coping very well with those longer stirrups, by the way. But where's that hand? Right down there, almost on your knee or on your thigh it was. So keep the hands up. Up. That's it. Keep those elbows bent. And hands up a little bit more, because he'll never come up off his shoulders if your hands are down there. Okay, stretch up tall. Good girl. That's it. Okay. Now I want you to do one or two more halts on this rein up here. So thumbs up on top. Don't turn those hands down. Keep your hands up a little bit. And squeeze your bum. Sit up tall and halt. You see? Good boy. And walk on. A few strides, and then I want you to do that again. Sit up tall and halt. He would come together really quickly, Excellent. So now I want you to walk him on again, but keep your hands up, up, up. That's it, not down there, up. A little bit more, that's it, but don't let him walk on too fast. Little play with your fingers the way I showed you. Now slow the walk down a little bit by just closing your seat enough to slow it without making him stop. That's it. Keep those thumbs up on top and the hands up a little bit. Don't let him speed up in the walk, because otherwise he's going to run into trot. We need to get him to step up through his shoulders into the trot, not pull himself along with his front legs. So when you go to ask him up to trot, just close your legs and trot and mean it. Don't let him just run. He's looking out there at the moment, going past the door. So keep it slower, so that he then goes up to trot immediately, not by making the walk faster. And trot. No, what happened there? Look, you see he's getting faster and faster in the walk. He's not going immediately off your leg. So you need to lift your hands up a little bit, so he's not coming so deep. And up a little bit. And lower leg not just kicking backwards. Think of lowering that little toe so it really closes your leg around his rib cage, as if you're trying to lift his rib cage up. And keep those elbows bent, hands up on top, and up. No, we're going to bring him back again, okay? Now, I know you said to get rid of the dressage whip before, but would you be happy to take it? And just so that you can at least tap your boot and make a noise, if you need to, rather than him. Because more often than not, they'll go from that. We never ever hit a horse. We might tap it, we might touch it, but never hit it. So, okay, walk. Yeah, okay. So now I'll bet you get an immediate trot when you use your legs. And trot. Nah, wait. Right, okay, bring him back again. You gave your hands forward to let him trot, so that puts him on the forehand. You've got to push him up to the contact as you ask with your leg. So keep your contact there, keep your hands still but up. Slow the walk a little bit with your seat, not to the point that you halt. Now tap your boot and make a noise. And trot. Oh yes. Okay. Keep the hands up, keep the rein shorter, and watch you're not whacking him with the whip. Yeah, that's better. Keep your whip over your thigh. Little play with your fingers, get him a little bit rounder. Good. Not so fast though. Just slow your rise and sit a bit. Good girl. Slow. And then come across the school from F to H. Keep it slow. Don't let him get faster. Just keep that tempo. Use your hands if you need to close your fingers a little bit more. Good. He looks a right bouncy little chap. Not so fast, not so fast. Slow him down a little bit more. Not to the point, obviously, that he comes back to walk, but he's got to learn to listen to you, not to himself. Good girl. Keep your hands together a little bit. Good. Very good, Rosie. That's much nicer trot. You see, now you're much more in control of it, aren't you? Steady. Good. And you've got stirrups 5 holes down as well. So if you're managing all of this, you're doing extremely well. You look as if you don't quite believe in yourself. That's part of the problem, you know, because you're more than capable, very capable. Super. Keep it slower. There's a lot to like about this little horse. There really is. Okay, now bring him back to walk by slowing your bum coming back to the saddle. Okay, good gut. Super! Nice transition there. You've got a good mark in a dressage test for that. Now what I want you to do is to go up to sitting trot for just for a minute or two. Because I would need to work on the sitting trot to get you a little bit deeper, but we'll just look at this, because what I want you to do is go up to sitting trot, and then I want you to bring him back to walk in the same way as we did the halt, by just squeezing your bum, enough just to make him come back to walk. Keep your elbows bent, hands up on top, elbows bent especially. Keep those hands up a little bit, and trot. That's better. Good girl. There's a lot of trot to sit to. Now squeeze your bum slightly. Squeeze. You see how you can regulate the speed of the trot? Good girl. Very nice, Rosie. Now I want you to just squeeze a bit harder and you'll bring him back to walk. See? Now you've got an extra aid. It's called your rear end. Elbows bent. I'm glad you brought her over here, Sarah, because she's very well worth teaching, I can tell you. See, Sarah believed in you. Okay, now I want you to halt again. Just by closing your bum, keep the lower leg on lightly. Good. Now keep those reins quite short. Lift your hands up a little bit. And I want you to get him up to trot in with as few strides of walk as you can. So think of sending him up and forward. Hands up a little bit. Yeah. And Herbie, trot. Super. He could be really good, you know. Very nice. Well done. Just, if he gets a bit too fast, close your seat a little bit, just enough to keep that slow trot. Oh, it's a pity she doesn't live just down the road. I'm telling you, we'd have this two going superbly. This is fantastic. You're not going to believe this video when you see it. I'd take her on as a working student any day of the week. This is lovely work, Rosie. How does that feel? Does he feel less heavy in your hand?
Yes.
Good. And walk. And let him stretch on a loose rein. Are you all right at the moment, Sarah? Because if you need to get going, you're all right at the moment. Okay. So much for your liveries, hey?
Sitting trot feels a lot easier.
Yeah, because...
I'm not relying on my stirrups holding me up.
Exactly. Good. Well, that's just nice there, because I don't know if Tallulah got that on the camera, but it said that the sitting trot feels a lot easier for her. And I mean, considering how bouncy he is, that her lower back is not absorbing the movement too badly. It's not too excessive, because he is obviously very bouncy. But let's have a look at, if you want to try and get him into canter, now that we've got him really warmed up again, just a few strides down the long side of the school is all we need. You know, just have a look at it, because I can really see good stuff here. Potentially keep those elbows bent, thumbs up on top, hands above the wither, elbows more bent. Watch you're not pushing with your seat. Does he go off to an aid to canter or not? Or does he just run into it?
He runs into it.
Right, okay, fair enough. So that's something that he can be taught. So elbows bent. Stretching up tall. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. So there's, you know, no problem. It's just... watch that you're not pushing with your seat again. Just let the seat go with his movement, but not push against it. So just feel, you know, when the moment's right to take him up to trot if you want to. And keep that trot short though, because you'll find then he won't run into it as much. So we do like we did in the sitting trot just a minute ago. Get him up to sitting trot again perhaps. Elbows bent. Let's try and get that trot, nice trot again. And trot. That's it. Just really think and mean trot. Keep him slow. Close your seat a little bit so he doesn't get too fast. Okay, and then think canter off one of the corners if you can. Whoa! Super. Bring him back. Yes, Pelham. You would have a lot more control in the Pelham, but I mean, he's got a big off-the-floor canter. There's so much to like about this little cob. There really is. He's got loads of potential. Loads of it. And at least you managed to stop. Oh, that's a big canter for in here. So let's just take him back up to trot again. Stretch tall. Wait, wait, wait. Give yourself time, Rosie. Think about your transition. And do you normally only carry your whip in one hand? Because that's...
Yes.
Because you need to carry them in either hand. Are you left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
You're right-handed, but she carries it in the left hand. That's unusual. So, but you need to learn to swap it over so you can use the whip just to touch or to tap where you need to, because he's not frightened of it. He just has a bit of respect for it, that's all. So we'll show you how to change the whip over too. So stretching up tall again. You look like a different rider to 3/4 of an hour ago, by the way. So when you want to get him to go up to trot, don't let the walk get faster. Slow it down with your seat a little bit. So you close your bum muscles, and if necessary, a little bit of your upper thigh as well. Slow it. And then if he doesn't immediately go off a squeeze of your leg, tap him with the whip on the boot. Yep, don't give your hands forward, because then he'll just shoot off. Okay, bring him back to walk again and keep him flexed to the right. He's thinking C-A-N-T-R now. Okay, keep him flexed to the right so you can see his right eye and nostril, because at the moment he's really bent to the left. Oh, you'll be fine. He's got to learn to respect your leg. That's better. Keep him flexed to the right though, because if he's bent the wrong way, that's when he's going to get into trouble. Right, bend him to the right. Flex him right. It's okay, we'll take the whip away again if necessary, but just keep him bent to the right, not to the left. So if he's bent to the outside, his quarters are coming in off the track. That's better. Now keep him bent to the right. Bend him round your inside leg. Stretch up tall. Sorry?
One of his elbows beating when schooling work.
Oh, crikey. Well, no wonder. He is a bit afraid of it then. Good boy. That's it. Just let him trot on in a light, soft trot like that, but keep him bent to the right. Just keep your reins short, elbows bent, and keep the hands a little bit above the wither. Now push him into the corner a little bit more with your right leg. Bend him to the right. Because if he's bent to the left, that's when he'll get into trouble, because you won't have the control. Keep him flexed right. Good. And a few strides of trot again, then back to walk with your seat. So you close your seat. Yep, don't give your reins forward, because that's the problem. Then he just gets away from you. Good. Change your diagonal, by the way, if you're in rising trot. Stay, not so fast. Keep him a little slower, little slower. That's it. Now you've got much more control. That's it. Okay, bring him back to walk again by slowing your descent back to the saddle. Good. You see, you've got a lot more control when you're using your body weight properly, rather than being all hunched up in the saddle, which gives him absolute freedom to bog off if he wants to. Now keep him flexed more to the right, because he's still bent to the left. And you say about the fact it's difficult to keep him straight. It's your job to keep him straight. So flex him to the right, elbows bent, because you can't keep a contact if your arms are straight. That's it. Push him into the corner more with your right leg. Good girl. Elbows. Keep those elbows bent and hands up a little bit. Good. Now just a few strides of sitting trot, back to walk. Keep him bent right. Don't let him run. Wait. Slow the walk down, and then use your legs and mean trot. And trot. That's it. Elbows bent. Keep him slow. Slow. And just close your seat a little bit if you need to, and that will bring him back. See? See, you've got a lot more control. Good girl. Super job, Rosie. Keep it soft. Keep him flexed to the right a little bit more, though. You want to see his right eye and nostril. Now slow him down again. Close your seat. And you see, you can bring him straight back to walk. See how much more control you've got?
Yeah.
And if you practice that, you'll find a big difference. But don't give your hands forward and just let him run on and walk. Keep your elbows bent. Keep him up and together a little bit more, because we want him to come up in front and look proud, not just keep poking his nose out. Sitting up and keep the walk slow. Little flexion right. Little flexion right. Keep him slow and halt. You see how he'll listen to your seat? That's really good. There's so much there that I think he'd quite like to help, to be good for you. So the fact if he's had, if he has been beaten up in the past, I'm not surprised the poor chap's a bit worried, because, he's got so much ability there, And you've done incredibly well to cope with the long stirrups as well, and a whole barrage of other things I've been telling you to do. So walk him on again. Does he rein back at all? No? Okay, that's something you need to teach him as well, because it really helps to get him back on his shoulders and get the shoulders up, or back on his hocks rather than the shoulders up, because when they have to sit and actually tilt the pelvis, it's lifting the shoulders up like that, and so he'll be lighter still in your hands. So walk him on again, but don't give your hands forward. Push him up to the contact. Keep the contact. Don't give your hands forward. Elbows bent. And he's bent to the left again, so his quarters are way off the track. So he's got to learn to bend more to the right, and you've got to be aware that he's bending to the left. If you can see his left eye instead of his right eye, you've got a problem. So now ask him with your fingers to relax his jaw again. So that's it. He does it very easily. So flexion right, still more right. I want you to bend his head more to the right, almost as if you're going to turn, but not turning. It's still more. He's still bent to the left. More, shorten your right rein a bit, and then squeeze on it a little bit more, so you actually turn his head a little bit more to the inside. That's it. Good girl. Well done. Little bit more flexion to the right, but don't give your left hand forward so he just bends at the base of the neck. Elbows bent, hands up a little bit. Now I want you to almost slow the walk down to a halt. So really think of slowing your seat, but not letting him halt. Yeah, very slow, very, very slow. Push him into your corner. Now let the walk out again by closing your left leg, right leg, left leg, right leg, left leg, right leg. So you can alter the length of your stride just with your seat and your legs. So don't push with your seat, legs. Just hold with your seat, but don't push with it. Good. Slow, still slower. A little play with your fingers so he keeps him good. Then ask him to walk on again with a bigger stride. Left leg, right leg with the swing of his belly. Good girl. Excellent. Now slow him down again with your seat. Ah, you see? Now he's coming much more up through his front end as well. Stretch up taller, elbows, hands up. Good. More flexion right though. He's still wanting to bend to the left. Really flex him to the right with those right fingers. Yeah, he's coming right off the track now because he's bending left instead of right. Can you actually feel that he's bent the wrong way? Yeah. So raise your right hand a little bit and flex him until you can see his eye. The right eye. Right hand up. Still more. Still more so that you can actually see his right eye.
Am I able to drop the whip?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I feel that might have a bit of a...
Yeah. Keep him flexed to the right. He's still doing it a bit there, so just think of asking him with your fingers. Give a little bit with your left fingers, but not by letting the hand go forward. Good boy. Okay. And think of another halt again. Good boy. And walk on again. Keep those elbows bent. Really concentrate on that when you get home. Really think about keeping the elbows bent and the hands a little bit higher so you're not dropping your hands down either side of the neck, because that will contribute to him going on his shoulders. And sitting up tall like this, if you can cope with having your stirrups longer. I mean, obviously put them up a couple more holes for hacking, but not to the point whereby you end up sitting like a jockey almost, because you looked very, very scrunched up. Now you look your full height, you know. Little bit more flexion to the right. So let's get him on the left rein. Let's go from K to M across the school. So K there, across to diagonally across the school. So elbows bent again, inside hip forward, outside leg behind the girth. So you're wrapping him around your inside leg. Keep him straight. Really think straight. And then bend him, flex him to the left as you come back to the track. Good girl. Well done. Yes, he's definitely stiffer to the right, there's no doubt about that. Stretching up tall through your rib cage, elbows bent, and raise the left hand slightly as you go into, whenever you bend or go into the corner, raise the inside hand slightly. Keep the hands quite well together, but not drop down either side of the neck. Good girl. That looks super. And then I want you to ask him to go up to trot again, but I want you to keep your rein short and actually feel like there is a little bit of pressure on his mouth at the other end of the rein as you do so. So that when you use your legs, you're damming up a bit more energy rather than just letting it all go out the front door. So raise your hands again and close the leg and tear up. I cheated there because I tapped my boot. Good boy. Elbows bent still, don't let him speed up. If he gets too fast, slow your rise and sit and he'll slow him down again. Good. Little play with your fingers to ask him to soften his jaw so that he's not just poking his nose. Very nice, Rosie. Not too fast. That's it. Just keep the regular rise and sit, but don't let him speed up. So you then keep to your idea of rise and sit. Yes. This could be a really good combination, Sarah, honestly. So much there to like. Super. Oop. He scared himself there when he's tapped your boot on the wall or shoe on the wall. This is lovely. How does that feel?
Feels good.
Yeah, let's change your diagonal just to put the polish on it. Not so fast. If he gets too fast, keep that rhythm. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. I think to slow him down a little bit by the rise and sit. Not too fast. Slow your rise and sit a little bit. Oh, this is lovely. You can be very pleased with yourself, I can tell you. That's really lovely to watch this. Just thumbs up on top. Don't let the hands drop. Trying to keep your hands so they're not going up and down when you're going up and down. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. I can almost guarantee that he'd stop doing anything naughty, because he's probably only doing it out of fear from his past life. But there's so much here to like. Ride forward to walk. This is really nice. And let him walk on a long rein, and we will finish there because I know you've got to get going, but I finished with reluctance, I can tell you, because I'm so enjoying it, honestly. It's a real pleasure to teach, and it just seems very sad that she's sort of not getting any help really, because there's a lot there to like, there really is.